So it looks like to be Zach in that top lane. Of course, it's going to be Twitch once again. So Twitch versus Caitlyn, it's what they had in the last game. Clearly Aranea, or well, actually Creaton, feels that he was strong enough to just deal with Freeze's grab.
Yeah, I mean, that lane of the 3 lanes was the close one. I think Freeze, even though he hasn't won actually a game with Twitch all season, he was 0-1, now 0-2 with it. It's not because he was performing badly on it.
J-Ree with a lopsided grin on his face as he goes through Victor and Zillion and Timo. We know these aren't going to get locked in. We're just waiting to see which way Pharrell Lord thinks is taking this one, because Diana was taken away from him. Bjergsen's going to be on that. Bjergsen actually has played an amazing Diana in one of the games.
Yeah, he could go with something like Ahri still. Ahri's not amazing against Diana as far as actually fighting against one another, but he had such a strong game on Ahri last time. It could just be the confidence thing going through. He had picked Diana multiple games in a row. Like, he seems to be a type who, once he gets comfortable on a champion, will just play a whole bunch of it. I think it's either Ahri or Orianna.
It's definitely not going to be Pantheon. I'm pretty sure of that one. It will be Ahri, of course. Thanks for waiting us wait, guys, making us wait. They're just obviously discussing getting masteries, everything else that needs picking, but well, maybe discussions to make sure, but I'm pretty sure they knew that they were going to lock that in about the 50-second mark.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Someone had to make a room page. That's actually one of the things that happens sometimes when you're long in the picks, because you don't necessarily know what's going on. You want to set your masteries, you want to set your runes, you tell the guy at the last pick, don't lock in, I want to make sure I get this stuff in time. Because the last thing you want to do with this much on the line is go in with an AP jungle vibe page. Not the way it works.
All no runes and masteries.
Yeah, Hotshot's done that before.
Still won the game though, so it's all good. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen, they are the picks. What do we think from these two team comps? Because Vibe didn't overly impress me on Aranea. Looking towards NIP, well, they kind of got a pretty much friendly setup. We're going to see how it works for Mima, of course, with Zac versus Renekton.
I think NIP has a much friendlier setup this game than they did last one. I think Mima will have a much better showing in lane, knowing he got the first pick here. They did pick a Zac. They locked it in very early on. Means he has confidence with it as well. We've seen the Jarvan-Zac combo have amazing synergy and effectiveness, especially in an international wildcard tournament, in just being able to go in specifically on Creaton. Other than that, we've just recently lost the other team's team comp that I was waiting until we get it back on stage, though I did like their comp overall, though.
So at the moment they are about to get in towards the third match. This is a best of 3, guys, so this is the final game. Who will stay and into season 4, or who will be pushed in towards that relegation matchup against either the likes of Copenhagen Wolves, TCM Gaming, and more to follow as well. It's obviously only 3 teams who will be in that relegation fight. SK Gaming and Meat Makers are already there. Who's going to be joining them?
Yeah, and the nice thing these guys have is if they join them, they are kind of the top seed, and they're going to be able to pick their opponent, which means they'll have a decent chance of fighting their way back into the LCS. But no one wants to be in that position. They want to be able to take this game and, like they said in the video, enjoy Gamescom.
So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Ninjas in Pajamas will be the blue team, and Alternate are the red team, as we are about to get underway. It does mean that there's probably not going to be any level 1 invades. Of course, with that Blitzcrank, it was Ninjas in Pajamas that kind of just went so wrong with that early invade, and Alternate, they realize it, and Alternate are going to try and bully their way into this one again.
Yeah, so Alternate trying to move their way through here, sneaking around the jungle that gets spotted out by a Jarvan flag, and this basically just tells Ninjas in Pajamas exactly where they can go if they want to get their wards down. They're putting them down in slightly different spots than they did last time, just to kind of mix things up and make sure people can't sneak around.
So, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Is there going to be anything crazy in this early beginning? Because the pressure that Alternate managed to apply to Ninjas in Pajamas was strong, but simply put, they've gone for those early wards, and they're not going to gain any great big advantage. And Ninjas in Pajamas got some really good wards in there as well, around that red buff area, so they are going to obviously catch up. They know that Aranea is going to be starting on this red buff. They have great vision of it. Will they do anything about it? I'm not too sure. They don't really have the position, so no. I mean, teams always put these wards down. It gives them great coverage. They know where the jungle is going, the jungle path. But how much information will that give them overall? Obviously, just simply knowing where the jungle is going to go. Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, is it simply helping the lanes?
It helps the lanes, and it slightly helps the junglers. It makes it so you don't get outsmarted with early game buff control, so you don't get 3 for 1 in a sense, with someone invading your jungle. They're so standard at this point that the teams are almost just kind of opting into it. I mean, even Explorer wards, like they don't really care about the extended duration. They're just telling you where the jungler started so you can then make your prediction on where to go next. Think of it kind of like a Explorer ward is almost replacing an early game clairvoyance as long as they get a spot on the buff, because you always want to know where the jungle starts since the beginning of League of Legends jungling.
Yeah, it seems to work out well. So the farm match begins. Freeze versus Kraton, and don't underestimate the harass that Deficio and J-Ree will be trying to lay down here. Maluno's going to be on his blue buff, Aranea is on his own blue buff. Both of these junglers taking the exact same path on opposite ends of the jungle. So let's look through the lanes. Let's have a look at this bottom lane, because it was a tight lane originally. Kraton fell so far behind in game 1 on farm against Freeze, but in game 2 made up for it. Despite the fact we only got to 24-minute mark, it was still pretty even between these two. Yeah,
he didn't have the disaster that he did in the first one, and as Caitlyn, he's able to shove back very early on. He had a good game as Caitlyn for sure, as you can see, 4-0-3. And I'm actually very surprised that NIP isn't trying to 2v1 to get Mimer out of that matchup against Kerp. Very clearly, they're thinking that he can hold his own now against this Renekton.
We'll see how that works out, because Kerp was just a monster in game 2. One of the reasons that simply put, Aranea didn't even need to go towards that top lane, because Kerp was dirty farming. He was lane cutting, proxy farming, I guess you could call it, whatever you want to call it, I guess. Well, technically not
farming in between the towers.
Farming in between the towers. That's about the cleanest explanation we can think of.
We went through this before, I believe, on Twitter. It's like, don't call it line farming. That doesn't make any sense.
Line cutting.
Line cutting.
Line cutting. It's more of a...
You're cutting the line of minions off.
Technically what they're doing, Maluno may well try and cut the line for the AD carry and support of Alternate off, but instead, step straight onto a wall.
Unfortunate there for Maluno, whereas Aranea has spent most of the time just farming. He showed mid really briefly, and that was unlucky, or just not smooth by Maluno. You do not want to aggro the dragon as you're coming around for the sneakier spot. And see, J-Ree's covered his bases here. He's covered both potential approaches of Maluno and wasted even more of his time.
Yeah, Maluno backed away, and wisely so, because Aranea was actually heading down there. In fact, he knows that Maluno is low.
He's trying to kill him.
He's going to try and either kill him or invade, so he knows that he's going to be around these golems, which is why he's going for it now.
Yep.
He has gone away. He was hoping that Maluno was there, and instead could try and pay a visit towards Deficio and Freeze.
I don't think he's going to gank this lane because they're so far down unless Freeze and Deficio decided to push out. Mainly he did that for a chance at catching Maluno, because they saw how low Maluno was in that ward, and Aranea figured if he's doing the double columns, it's a kill chance. But if he doesn't, I can just counter jump him. It was a smart move.
Yeah, now he sees Maluno, realizes he's back, and he's going for those raids in full hit points, but as is all junglers, they are always a little bit greedy and they want to just fight for those raids. It's an important fight, and it's a fight that Aranea is winning quite strongly.
Yeah, and if Alternate doesn't do something about Aranea's early game here, they're going to put themselves in a bit more trouble. This is a greedy take, though, because Diana can collapse down a little bit.
Bjergsen coming across, the ball break is going to come across. Oh, Aranea gets interrupted nicely by Maluno, but look at that, Ferrano comes back across. It's first blood for Aranea. Now they're going to turn on towards Bjergsen. Bjergsen tries to pull the damage back down. Aranea is taking so low. One more hit will do it, and Bjergsen is going to get the kill, but Ferrano will mop up.
But you can see Aranea is clapping his hands together in excitement there. That totally worked for them. 2 for 1, great trade.
Great trade, but Kraton getting pressure down this bottom lane. Freeze putting a lot of poison down on towards him. That's another great trade this time around. Over the top lane, Mimer, he's going to elastic slingshot to Kerp. He is going to try and put it down, forces the slice and dice from Kerp to just back away. Still, Kerp's going to come back to lane. He's not done yet. They both got the door and shield, so they will regen over time.
That's a substantially better lane so far from Mimer, though. 32 to 36, absolutely holding his own against Kerp's Renekton right here. It's just, Aranea could become a problem again. Boots and mobility rush once again. He's trying to take control of this game, and it's Maluno who needs to stop him.
There he goes, face straight in towards Maluno. Maluno pulling that ward down. Aranea, nope, not backing away. And Domestic Standard used to uncover his position with that flag toss. So, Kerp is going to be sat on the lane, and that, like you say, is actually working out much better. They're equal on CS, so far the trade is in NIP's favor.
Yep, getting that Zac first pick was a huge benefit for them in this one, considering Mimer had such a horrendous game 2 against Kerp. He's definitely trying to pull this one back. The big thing will be, though, is whether Bjergsen can win this matchup with Ferellenord, because since they're both on roaming assassin-type mid laners here, they're really going to be able to want to get the shove going so they can impact the other lanes. And it's 1,000 gold right now, so still plenty to come.
So it was the Giant Spell picked up by Mima, and that means he's going to be coming up to that top lane. And Kerp actually going for an exchange with him at the moment. Can't get close to that exchange because Mima's going to have so much more hit points. Ferellenord in this mid lane, he's gone back and got himself a bit more mana items. Of course, the fact that he picked on that kill and assist is going to make him stronger than Bjergsen. Bjergsen still trying to put pressure back down on him. That shield working from Diana is saving him from that damage at the moment. Meanwhile, RNA is going to pick up that red buff. Wraiths being cleaned out by Maluna. In that bottom lane, we are seeing the first back Graviton is going to go away. See what he buys here, because he rushed on the Vampiric Scepter previously on Caitlyn. This time, he's waited around a bit longer, gone for that BF sword. The middle lane, though, Bjergsen's going to get caught out here. RNA manages to get the slam down. One more hit from Ferellenord will do it, and Maluna has to back from that fight.
They can't get a hold of RNA right now. Hitting level 6 before Maluna was 6, getting level 7 on that gank now, and maybe just trying to parlay this into a dragon. Vi's ganks level 6 are incredibly deadly, and when combined with an Ahri, it is almost inescapable. It's very similar to Nocturne plus Ahri as far as being able to chase down and kill that one specific target.
So it is going to be the dragon for Alternate, but I want to draw your attention to that top lane. Kerp has gone for a Hex Reaper as his first item.
Playing exactly for the lane right now. He doesn't care about freeze or how he's going to need to tank the Twitch later on in the game. He's really just trying to beat on Mima, which is what gave him success in the last game. And honestly, with how well the rest of Alternate is doing, he should focus on the lane to make sure he has control up there, which he actually hasn't gained yet on tag.
Not yet. We'll see how it continues to develop. Of course, neither have had jungler cover. So Graviton, with that BF sword, will have a tiniest of edges, I think, on freeze. But we'll see how long that lays out. At the moment, in terms of CS, they're pretty close. It's only 5-6 CS difference. That's not a great differential, but it's the mid lane once again. Ferellenord, though, is too close. Bjergsen has to use that ultimate to go in. Ferellenord's going to maybe turn this one around. Did not have Spirit Rush available, sorry. And Ignite was available to him, but he didn't want to go aggressive on that.
And you can see Maluna is kind of waiting in the wings in mid lane. He has been one step behind RNA almost this entire game, because he's hoping for a counter gank the next time Ferellenord would go in. But RNA is not even there.
So 3-1 to Alternate so far. 2,000 gold differential, just coming up to the 10-minute mark. Of course, the fact that the Dragon was picked up by Alternate will be a big part of that gold. Graviton actually free hitting that turret. NIP not doing a great deal to try and prevent him pulling the damage down, and RNA is waiting in the wings right now, in that bush, ready and waiting to use that assault and battery, which he has available, try and slam down on freeze.
Yeah, now we're going to see this 3-on-3 maybe actually break out. Freeze is going to scout a little bit or set up, maybe hoping to get a 2v2 fight, but if he gets jumped on too hard, it's over.
There's the assault and battery, but the crescendo answers very nicely. He's going to use that barrier to get away from this one. Cataclysm quickly counteracts the Stranglethorns and just gets away from that one. Disengaged from NIP was very fast.
So 3 for 3, a bunch of ultimates burned. I'd have to say NIP burned a few more. I thought maybe it was going to go in there.
Yeah, wasn't sure either, and I think it may well have caught on instead. It's going to be the Vault Breaker. Bjergsen getting caught with that charm. Ferellenord Spirit Rush is in towards it. One more hit. There it is. Ferellenord 3-0-1 against Bjergsen now in that mid lane.
We knew something was coming. We could feel it. And obviously Bjergsen wasn't quite tuned in to that channel. RNA from top to bottom, third lane in as many seconds.
Using those boots of mobility there to get around, and now he's going to come and think about putting the pressure on towards Mima instead. They're just going to farm between lanes.
Yeah, they're really starting to put the Stranglethorns on NIP right now. They just cannot get through them. Maluno's trying to catch Kerp, and maybe Kerp's in a bit of trouble. No ultimate up. RNA is going to have to recover him.
Going to slice and dice, and a quick knockback from RNA. They can see Let's Pounce coming out from Mima. They may try and turn this fight back on its head, but NIP always have that tower to fall back on. And Alternate realizing they're taken pretty low. They don't have vision of Bjergsen after that death.
Kerp's got to be a little bit careful. Beautiful juke there, and then gets the slice and the dice for the escape.
And the Vault Breaker used by RNA to pass away. Something we actually haven't talked about, the mobility that Alternate do have. They can pass over walls, quite a lot of them.
Yeah, almost all of them, aside from the support J-Re. If they get attempted lockdown by Jarvan's Cataclysm. They're going to be able to hop out in most circumstances.
The pressure from Ferelnord on Bjergsen is he can't do a thing in the lane anymore, Bjergsen. He just returns to the lane, just gets taken straight down there. Did have a Spirit Rush available, didn't go for it, but immediately just lands all the perfect combo there, and Bjergsen already taken below half hit points the moment he returns to the lane.
Very smart choice by Ferelnord going for Ahri 2 games in a row. Already with that DFG, he is just flying ahead of Bjergsen once again, and also making Maluno's life difficult. Maluno keeps having these issues where laners are taking his stuff, and he is not happy about it.
Yeah, it's going to be his Wraith's gone away there. Aranea was there before, if you remember. That bottom turret taken very low, actually. Aranea, talking about taking his stuff, he's taking his red buff away from Maluna. Maluna is just having everything stolen off right now. Let's talk about level advantages as well, because Ferelnord is now 2 levels up on Bjergsen, and that bottom lane, it may well go down in this way.
Looks like the end for that one. I mean, fight potentially in mid, though. Aranea always there. I don't know if this is going to work. It's dangerous.
The Salt and Battery goes on towards Bjergsen, but look at that, Ferelnord Spirit Rushes away.
Wow.
Gets another kill. Maluna comes sliding through, but it doesn't matter, he's not even close.
Just a step slow in all these counter games. Bjergsen dying again to a turret dive. And these last 2 games have been absolute disaster. And we're here again.
Well, Kerp is at it again, but not as successfully as he was before. You can see it's still very close in terms of creep score between Kerp and Mima, and Mima's actually doing a good job because, well, he's Zac, and Zac can farm out that lane. He's not going to be pressured by like his Yorick was.
Yeah, but the problem this creates once someone has made it this deep into your territory is you can see Maluno, even though he was able to take his wolves, was really scared of him. Because Kerp could have came over the wall and just fought him there. It's about control more than this is about farming. Because obviously if you're in between someone's turret, you're allowing them to farm freely as well, but you're in a more dangerous position for the enemy.
I believe Quickshot would say it's about sending the message, and that's what he's doing right now. Blue buff is up, and that message is very clear. Let's come and get it. Kerp is already on top of it. Mima is heading towards there, as is Bjergsen. So this is a dangerous situation for Kerp right now.
Yeah, he's got to get out of there, and more importantly, the rest of Ultimate should try to make a play elsewhere, or just come support him for a 3v3, in which they're collapsing with a lot of ultimates up.
Ball breaker from Aranea comes across, pulls that ward straight down, steals away the blue buff. Kerp comes back in there. Ferelnord's just around the back. We're going to see Let's Bounce being used, but it's not really doing a great deal of damage. Aranea's around there, and now Ferelnord comes across. Charm did not land. Aranea taken very low. Maluna's going to continue to chase. The Ignite quickly comes down from Ferelnord. That's going to be a Maluna going down. They're going to chase on towards Bjergsen taking low. Deficio has to come in. Boston Crescendo across. Kerp still tanking out the team. And now Mima gets charmed out there. Ferelnord still with a lot of mana. But Mima's going to walk into his passive, gets popped. Aranea's going to come around. Freezer's being drawn into this fight. All 5 members in Ninjas in Pajamas desperately trying to defend out. The blue buff was already taken. And that is another kill and domination of Mima by Ferelnord.
Not only did NIP send all 5 people to that blue buff contest eventually, they still lost everything. 2 people dead with the blue buff. It's an absolute disaster. And look at the 6 kills that are now on Ferelnord. He is going to wreak absolute havoc on the rest of this game.
And every single one of those kills has been assisted by Aranea. You know, we questioned his buy. This time around, it is working absolutely perfectly. That's going to be the dragon going down. Aranea will smite that one out. After he just smited out the blue buff as well. And now, Ultimate are in complete control. They had a 24-minute game in Game 2, despite the 55-minute epic in Game 1 that they lost. Aranea and co are in complete control again.
Momentum is absolutely on their side here. Win, they're into the next split of the LCS, which is absolutely huge for these guys. Bjergsen, though, trying to make a bit of a play, maybe crawl back into this game. Can he get Kerp with that extra?
He should be able to take Kerp down, unless he goes onto the turret now, has to use his ultimate, but he got the kill. And Bjergsen, much needed kill there, but now Bjergsen's worth money again. Ferelnord's going to go looking for him.
Yeah, that's licking his chops right there, being able to go get Bjergsen again, with how much domination he's had with Ahri. Even with that kill, the gold lead is still 7,000. Still 2 turrets to nothing.
I don't think I've heard licking his chops for quite some time. That's a very English phrase, actually, you just pulled out there. So
Well, I've been hanging around you too much.
maybe. I don't know whether that's a good or bad thing. Let's see, though. 50 CS advantage as well for Frello, but it's all about the 601. Look at the gold. You can see 4,300 to 7,100, almost a 3K gold lead by the AP carry mid laners. That is not good times for Ninjas in Pajamas. They're really going to have to turtle up quite heavily to try and fall back an alternate there. 2-0 down on turrets as well, because alternate now putting pressure. Just a couple of hits on this middle turret will take it down. It's going to be a 3-0.
And the danger right now for NIP is because Pharrell Lord is so far ahead with so much damage, a single charm could mean death.
And just like that, the DFG gets fired out. Pearson taking down half the hit points. The crescendo comes out, but simply put, it didn't manage to do a great deal. There's going to be spray and play from Freeze, instantly cut down with that exhaust, and alternate just disengage.
Mimer's trying to come in from the flank though, maybe get something back. Alternate still running.
Good cataclysm there, but the charm lands straight away. Maluna has to flush away from this one. Let's Bounce comes in, he's on Scranton, but he just pops out the barrier. He will get taken down by Mimer's Let's Bounce. Aranea escapes this one, but they're alternate. They're turning it around. Frelon's like, guys, I've got full mana. I've got all my skills available. Let's try and go for this one. Is it going to be a trap? There's going to be alternate. Curve gets in there, gets the stun off Bjergsen. Vault Breaker goes in, goes back in, gets the shutdown bonus off Pharrell. Bjergsen's trying to get away from this one. I don't think he'll escape. He's trying to do as much as he can, but gets smashed in the face by Aranea.
Very back and forth fight here, and the more kills you can trade if you're NIP right now, the better, because you saw the giant shutdown bonus come out from Bjergsen over Pharrell Lord, and that means a slight win for NIP. NIP found the position of that fight much better for them. Even though Pharrell Lord did land the charm, they could not fully engage it thanks to the turret, and Mimer arrived to that fight before Curve, which is what ended up turning the tides.
So he managed to get that Let's Bounce off, and more importantly, the kill onto Kraton. So it took down that AD carry. Kraton himself has actually fallen behind Freeze as well. So we'll see and keep our eyes on that one, because Freeze had such a huge advantage over him in game one. As it is though, 6-1-2, the first death on Pharrell Lord. It was a big deal, and it's going to mean a lot for Bjergsen, but Pharrell Lord, once he goes back to base, he gets himself that second needlessly large rod. So Rabbit on Death Cap or Zhonya's will be following very soon.
Yeah, he, in this game, could actually go for Rabadon's Death Cap, only because he is so far ahead, and it will increase his one-shot potential substantially. Zhonya's is the safe choice. Rabadon's is the choice if they're trying to win the game fast.
So we'll see whether they go for that rush, whether they want to get it in there. Looking at both supports actually, because these guys have slowly been taking advantages. I thought D4G was going to steal the red buff.
Accidentally just puts a Q as he's running by. Oops.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Did I just get all the gold and the red buff? Why not? Now, it is going to be the top lane that it looks like Alternate going to focus on. They're going to get spotted by that ward though. Mimer should be safe unless actually he doesn't disengage, and he could get cut off quite heavily by Alternate here, because there's no tower for him to fall back on, and the rest of Alternate are starting to collapse towards him. Mimer needs to run.
And they might try to parlay a fight here that they can win into a potential Baron, but the blue buff is the main objective right now. Mimer runs away, basically just a blue take. If NIP would have contested this, they would risk giving up substantially more.
So, well, we saw it already, obviously, the risk that they ran in that fight. Alternate won out quite successfully in a 3v5.
Oh, just start a fight!
The Salt Battery on towards Bjergsen, they're locking a lot of damage out on towards him. Bjergsen's already been taken down. Crescendo comes across, only catches on towards Aranea and Curve. Spray and play from Freeze at the side, that gets interrupted by the Stranglethorns coming out from J-Ree. J-Ree does get taken down, but D4G taken so low. Maluna's already dropped. That is going to be Mimer taken down in the backside. Now they're trying to collapse. They can't find Freeze. He stealths away from this one, but Alternate are going to push down that mid lane turret.
And a 3-for-1, that just shows how Vi can start a fight from almost anywhere, and why it's great to have her on the team when you're up by this much. Anything Aranea catches, Pharrell Lord can finish, and the 3-for-1 is pushing in on this turret.
It's going to be the inhibitor turret going down as well, so big advantage taken by Alternate there from a simple free engage by Aranea, slamming down. Freeze tries to stealth up and follow, but realizes the rest of his team won't be able to close that gap. And now Alternate with a 10,000 gold lead, 21 minutes into this game. 5-0 up in turrets. Not a single lane pushed by NIP. They are really up against it and looking like they may have to fight through relegation once again in the summer split.
Unless something drastic happens in this game, it's looking like that. The death cap has been completed by Pharrell and Lord, which means even more pain for NIP right now. They haven't been able to itemize much magic resistance yet. Anyone aside from Bjergsen, who's been taking the majority of the attacks and still dying 6 times, mind you, has the magic resistance. Pharrell and Lord with the 7-1 kills, and also Arnea roaming around so many different lanes has just contributed to this massive goal lead. So much of it is also this global goal.
And it looks like the Dragon will get picked up by Ninjas in Pajamas, and that's going to keep that goal, the global goal lead. 11,000 gold, 22 minutes in.
Oh no.
That is monstrous. I mean, that's what, 40%?
Math. It's
Well,
about
they've only got
40%.
26,000, so
it's definitely close to 40%.
It's got to be close to 40%, but it is going to be the first turret for Ninjas in Pajamas. That is what they need. They need to start dropping these down, but not at the price of possibly losing this bottom inhibitor turret, bottom inner turret. Bjergsen, well, he's getting 1v1 by Kirby in that top lane, while the rest of NIP have to back away from this. It's another inner turret going down. Alternate are creating and picking up every objective that they can find.
Yeah, and while Kerp is trying to keep Bjergsen distracted, everyone on Alternate is thinking about just pushing in here. We know they can start a fight from anywhere. This would be an incredibly risky fight to go into, and then NIP decides to go in instead.
You can see the crescendo come across, less bounce, but Stranglethorn's really interrupted that, and Mima gets dropped. His passive wasn't available for Enlil. Well, he's going to get freeze. The barrier was used, but Aranea should get the finisher ahead. No, he's going to get locked down. Maluno picks up that kill. A little too deep and confident for Alternate. Have they bought time to get him towards there? The ace in the hole comes in, and Freeze goes down. But for Enlil, the charm comes in. Bjergsen does manage to get the kill, but pays for it with his life. It's a double kill for Kraton. It's going to be another inhibitor turret.
And despite Freeze completely outplaying Arnea at the end of that, Alternate still comes out on top in this fight. If they get this inhibitor, it's one building closer to moving into the next split. This is so big for them.
With the 20-second death timers, they can just rotate up towards the middle as well and take the second inhibitor of the game. I'm not too sure whether Maluno Diffusure might be interrupted. Kerp is sticking around while Kraton just stays in that background. J-Ree's going to use everything he can to just keep them at bay, and Kerp, with that dominance running, should be able to slide away from this one. Hasn't got slice and dice available. There it is. Just manages to get back away, and I don't think they're going to catch on towards it. 90 caliber net from Kraton. It's a successful disengage. That's 15-7 into kills. Massive gold advantage is 7-1 in turrets. And don't forget that middle inhibitor completely exposed.
But we're at 24 minutes into the game. Alternate won at 24 minutes last time. Let's take a look at how this fight started. Even though Mimir got the good initiation, the crescendo didn't land, and then they did take him out. The only error they had is when they went all in on Freeze, the Blade of the Ruined King healed for much more than Arnea was ready for when he went in, and since Freeze saved it until that point, he was able to turn that around.
It worked out in the end. That's a lot of damage. That isn't a hold it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that happens when you go with the Bloodthirster Last Whisper Caitlyn build. He didn't have the Zeal up until that one. Is it basically just makes your ult hit like an absolute truck.
Kraton will have the red buff coming into this one. Alternate, well, they're just focusing on the final inner turret in this top lane. Of course, the blue buff was stolen away previously. That may actually be up shortly. Alternate just wiping out those waves. Ward coverage is good from Alternate as well, so they have everything pinned down here. You can see the fish show just been popping around, putting those wards along the bottom lane. Kerp, he's continually pushing that mid lane. They're going to have to deal with Kerp. He's on the inhibitor.
Kerp is his own army right now. He, we saw, took on 3 members of NIP as they were retreating, and now is drawing the whole team back into this inhibitor. Alternate will want to go for inhibitor number 2. Based off the last game, if they land a charm, they can just win the game.
Well, they are winning every single fight so far, so it's no surprise that they don't hang around, they don't go for Baron. Aranea was just charging up there, and they continue. Kraton at the back, just hammering that damage down. Mimer's going to try and come in here. He wants to get a good let's bounce. We do see the charms being flung out towards Maluno. It's not going to land. Kerp's still, look, it's just so deep stood in there. The slice and dices away the moment Mime comes in. And they're just going to get a couple more hits, and that's the second inhibitor down. Ninjas in Pajamas, they were in a similar position. Not quite as drastic, though, in game 1. I tell a lie, it was Alternate were in a similar position as well.
I mean, they both had 2 inhibitors down. It's just the inhibitors have been down more frequently for NIP, and they have not came back from that exact thing. Oh, look at the distance on that engage!
Salt and battery on Bjergsen was exactly what it is. It did exactly what it said on the tin. Bjergsen's going to feel that one for a couple of weeks.
That hurt him a little bit. Oh man, Alternate just trying to push in one more time. Now main threat down once again. They've killed him 8 times. Last ditch fight.
It's going to be Mima coming in. Let's Bounce is available, but he gets charmed up. Can he get to use it? Yes, he will. Stranglethorn though, that's going to keep him on his own. Maludo came out there. The exhaust quickly shut him down. The passive gets popped out there, and he's going to get dropped out. There's a double kill for Creaton. Now they're on towards the final inhibitor turret here. Alternate have performed sensationally well after going 1-0 down to NIP in a really close battle, it has to be said. Alternate almost could have been forgiven for throwing that one away. Bjergsen goes back in, but it's the league manages to get the kill. On towards Lord. Creaton once again gets another curve taken so low. It's not over yet. Ninjas in Pajamas do get themselves a double kill on Freeze. Freeze backing off here, but it's only going to be the Nexus turrets remaining. Oh, Division got locked up. Creaton is now godlike. 7-1-4. But Alternate have to back away.
They got all 3 inhibitors during that, so they're up in unfathomable amount right now. The only reason they had to back away is because they couldn't have ended the game directly. They knew Freeze had home guard boots on Twitch and could have killed off the 2 low members of their own team that were sticking around. I think they're going back, buying all the goodies from the money they just got, and they're probably just going to look to make a final push.
Some big items going to start popping in. We'll see what they go with, because they're all just about to respawn out there. So Spirit Visage is being picked up. Aranea is a full tank. Kurt is a full tank. Lord has just been a damaging machine, and that it's actually Creaton that started to pick up the kills at the end of this game.
I feel like the Caitlyn pick in the last 2 games has been so valuable. Just because, honestly, Freeze is a fantastic AD carry. Even on Twitch, he's out-farming Creaton by an unreal margin. But Creaton's having the success on Caitlyn, and they're not letting Freeze take over the game from the laning phase in this one. And that's one of the big things, because Alternate's shown that with help of Arna, Lord can dominate Bjergsen, and Kerp has done quite a job on Mimer in all 3 games by himself.
So the Baron picked up for free for Alternate, and now they're going to move in towards that base. Ninjas in Pajamas simply running damage control, trying to take down those double super minions that will be coming down the lanes. Alternate, well, they could wait for the super minions to be pushing all 3 lanes before they go in for this one, but they're feeling confident enough that they will just keep on pushing through. This would have to be a sensational defense for NIP to try and keep them away here.
It would be more than sensational. It would save them entirely. But this looks like Alternate's going to be moving into the next split.
So Ninjas in Pajamas, they go aggressive. Maluna gets caught out there. The damage from Lord alone is enough to take his hit points to a 3rd. That's one Nexus turret down. Creaton getting the damage on towards that, or hammering away on towards that second. Lord running the defense there, keeping Bjergsen at bay. The charm does not land, but instead he spirit rushes in, goes aggressive. Meanwhile on the back there, Mima goes bouncing in there, but he just gets melted. Maluno tries to cataclysm him, but he just gets destroyed as well. A 3rd one going down. That's going to be a 4th. It's going to be Alternate that make it through into Season 4 of the summer split after such a tumultuous time, a horrendous super week. They've managed to turn it around. It has been a tough couple of days for Alternate, but they are in Season 4, and that means Ninjas in Pajamas once again, like the spring, have to fight for their place in the LCS.
And it must feel very good for Alternate right now, because they were so close to winning that first game, and what a way to come back, just dominating games 2 and 3, really showing that they were the better team in these 2 matchups. A tough loss for him.
I'm a little flabbergasted as the downfall of Ninjas in Pajamas, honestly.
Yeah.
The moment Instinct stepped away from that team, I feared for them, because with him in that team, I actually thought they were one of the teams that would get to the quarterfinals.
Absolutely, they looked unstoppable for a very short portion of the season. It's just been so up and down for them. Too many roster changes to handle, and they could never quite find the synergy.
We should also think about the Draven here, because Freeze was the best Draven player, certainly in Europe.
Yeah.
That affected him quite a lot. He was not happy with that match, I'm going to assure you. But
you gotta have adaptability. I mean, we saw within this, you need a couple champions at least. Aranea, even though we gave him a bit of flack, a bad buy game, showed up with a good buy game later on and really took it through. You have to play more than one thing in this league.
Yeah, he went 3-2-9 at the end there as well, so fantastic performance. Actually, I'll tell a lie. That is 3-3-19.
A few assists.
He was there for 22 of the 24 kills.
Yep. So was Pharrell Lord. It was they kind of just teamed up and crushed that game.
So fantastic stuff. There is a very happy RNA on your screen. We are going to send it over to Joe and Jason to break down the plays that helped Team Alternate lock down their spot in the spring split.
Thanks a lot, Demon and Jason. Again, a brilliant performance coming out of Alternate. And again, the real problem that they had was around this mid lane. Pharrell and Lord got the ball rolling and they weren't able to stop it.
I think Alternate that first game were like, we forgot to follow our strategy there. Just camp Bjergsen, because that's all they did for the last 2 games. It worked out so successfully for him. And we talked about NIP quite a bit back, in the beginning of the split, as they did their first roster changes in week 3. We said Bjergsen always had to carry the team on his shoulders prior to that point. But with Extinct coming in, with Freeze coming in, he finally had some of that pressure taken off, and he was allowed to not be camped so hard. He's allowed to carry games, I guess, even more from that. And then he also had 2 more people he could really count on to bring up the big kills when they need to make it happen. And you just see right there, teams know how to beat NIP. Kill Bjergsen. I mean, you can camp top if you want as well, get a couple kills on Mimer, but if you just shut him down, it's pretty much over.
I mean, Mimer had a better time of things this game. Certainly can't really compare it to game number 2, where he just didn't have a chance against Curbs Renekton. This time around, running that Zac, which is a champion we've seen him more often playing than some of the Yorick, for example, which just didn't work out for them whatsoever. But as we predicted, that Shen ban from Alternate, and I think Mimer's shown that if he gets Shen, that's where he's his biggest threat so far. And he's not made the impact with other champions that they'd have been looking for.
Think back to Godbro, who used to play top lane for NIP. If he got Shen, he pulled off some fantastic taunts in the summer promotion tournament, hitting 4 or 5-man taunts, and that just shows how strong Shen is. And maybe Mimer, I mean, we always talked about his Rengar, his Evelynn, these really heavy assassins in that top lane. Wasn't really allowed to play it too much, but honestly, like you said, that last game he did a phenomenal job. He almost killed Kerp a couple of times. He was even with him in CS until out of that laning phase part, and he actually did a great job that game.
I think have to put a lot of onus on the jungles here, though. I mean, Aranea, this game, I didn't even point out the stats there. For 22 out of the 24 kills he was involved in. And it all started with that first blood. Again, Maluno was watching him doing the raids. We saw Bjergsen kind of come down half-heartedly, but Pharrell Lord was already in there as well. They managed to get the first blood, plus a double. It was actually 2 kills that they got from that one. Maluno kind of walked away all healthy, and they just looked a little bit disjointed, I feel, in that in those last couple of games.
Yeah, as we saw that, I mean, it was like you said, 2 kills. So we saw Arnea get 1, we saw Pharrell Lord get 1, and that kind of really had a huge negative impact on NIP throughout the rest of the game. I mean, I think they morally were kind of really hurt from that. And then also Bjergsen, I mean, he popped his flash trying to get away, ended up dying, I believe. And the thing was, from that, he just got camped. I mean, Pharrell Lord, I mean, we're talking about Arnea, but Pharrell Lord, 8-4-14, Creatine, 8-1-6. I mean, Pharrell Lord did a fantastic job of shutting him down. Like, once he got that little bit of an edge, that's all he needed. Had that DFG, had that Robin's death cap, and he would force Bjergsen out of lane so many times. You could see the frustration in his face when you saw him on camera.
Well, fantastic performance from Alternate. They, of course, go through. We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, Alternate's Aranea will join Shox on stage to talk about that massive win. Then it's time for our first semi-final match of the day, second-seeded Fnatic versus number 3 Evil Genius. So guys, don't go anywhere. The LCS Regional Playoffs live from Gamescom. We'll be right back.